Hello, I'm Kiran and welcome to my workshop. I'm continuing with my shop improvements projects in here, and when I stopped last in the previous video, I installed these bright LED lights in the shop, which I think makes the visibility in here much better than what it used to be. Now I'm continuing on to the next step, which is to build a tool wall on the concrete wall behind me. So to do that, I needed to do a few things. I went ahead and cleared the clutter from the table saw here, as well as from the compound miter saw station, because I need to access these tools. I've just barely cleaned them up so that I can use these tools to make some cuts on the table saw as well as on the miter saw. So let's get started. This is how things stand right now. The miter saw station workbench is sort of clear, so I can make some cuts there, as well as coming to the table saw, it's also ready to go. So the wall is behind there, as you can see. In building the tool wall, I did some research and I looked at some videos and Googled some stuff. And in almost all of them, I see people building tool wall on drywall or 2x4 studs. So it's very easy to hang a sheet of plywood on 2x4 studs because it's wood on wood contact. Unfortunately for me, I have a concrete wall. I cannot directly hang a sheet of plywood on the concrete wall. So to enable me to hang the sheet of plywood on the concrete wall, I need to do a few things. First, I need to get some 2x4 pressure treated boards and hang them up on the wall. To do that, I need to use a hammer drill and masonry bits, because to drill into concretes, you need special masonry bits, which your traditional drill bits cannot do. And once the pressure treated 2x4s are up on the concrete wall, I can then install the plywood on the 2x4s. So here's the plan. I'm gonna cut this pressure treated 2x4 into two 4-foot sections. I have set up a stop block on my Craig fence system here at 4 feet. So I'm gonna cut one piece, and then I'm gonna bring the other side back in here and cut the second piece. Choose the straightest boards possible, because that will make your life much easier. So I'm just gonna get to cutting. I'm marking the stud positions here on the wall. I want to make sure that the two 2x4s are 4 feet apart. After the drill locations are marked, I start to drill. I'm directly drilling on the concrete for the first hole, and then come back and drill through the 2x4s to make sure the concrete hole and the hole on the 2x4 are aligned. Initially, when I started drilling, I didn't have the drill in the hammer position, so it was making it a lot harder. And once I turned it to the hammer position, drilling the hole became fairly easier. Now I'm bringing in the 2x4 and drilling through the 2x4 and trying to closely align it to the hole that I drilled on the concrete. This will make sense in a second when I screw through the 2x4 into the concrete wall for securing the first screw. Here's a quick look at the screw that I'll be using. Line up the screw and screw it through the 2x4 to make sure that the screw is protruding on the other end, then securing it into the concrete wall. I'm using my impact driver. Any regular impact driver should be able to screw the screw into the concrete wall just fine. Once the first screw is in, I add 2 more screws and repeat the process on the other 2x4. So I've completed hanging the 2x4s on the concrete wall here. As you can see, I've put 3 screws. These are the blue screws I was talking about. They're concrete compatible, wood concrete compatible screws. And I've also countersunk the 2x4 to make sure that the screw sits a little bit recessed from the surface of the 2x4. So now that's done. I'm gonna bring in the plywood sheet. So originally I was planning to hang construction grade plywood up here on the wall because I'm substance over style kind of guy. Then I realized I didn't have any 3/4 inch construction grade plywood. So I think it needs a 3/4 inch plywood to add some strength to the structure. So I'm gonna use this oak plywood that I have to hang it up here. I'm gonna leave about a couple of inches gap here so I can maybe build like a clamp rack, and I'm gonna then leave a foot gap at the top to build a cubby. So I've set up this Rockwell jaw stand to help me hang this plywood. Once the plywood's up in place, I'm gonna drill and put some drywall screws in here. I'm adjusting the jaw stand to make sure it's at the right height and also to ensure that the 2x4 is firmly against the wall to support the sheet of plywood that I'll be hanging. I adjust the plywood to make sure that it's at the best position it can be. Once that's done, I drill and countersink for the hole. And then finally secure it with a drywall screw. Once the first screw is in, I repeat the same process for all the other screws. I think I added about 5 screws to each side, so 10 screws in total. Thought I'll take some close-ups here. So these are the drywall screws that the plywood sheet sits on, and that's the pressure treated 2x4, and the blue screw is the masonry screw. I've had a few things that I didn't take into consideration. I didn't initially countersink the masonry screws, so they were just sticking out a little bit, so I had to pull them out and then put it back. Also, I didn't initially plan how to hang this sheet up on the wall in a pinch. Fortunately for me, I had the Rockwell jaw stand that helped me out. It's been a great addition. It takes a small footprint, but it's very useful. Also, there's some minor issue here with the plywood sheet. It wasn't completely square. I should have checked that. But this being a shop furniture, so to speak, I'm not too bothered about that minor gap. All in all, good start. So the tool wall is finally up on the concrete wall there. It's just bare bones right now. It's just basically a wall. I'm gonna work on building the cubby at the top as well as adding some French cleat system. I've also stored some hardwood offcuts. I think I can make some tool specific profiles that I can just hang it in here. Also a drill and driver hanging station. I'm gonna try and accommodate at the bottom or in the middle section somewhere. Let's see how that goes. I'm gonna stop this here and I'm gonna come back to it in the next one.